Are you struggling to test your React components that use asynchronous code? You're not alone. Today, we're diving into how to properly wait for setState to resolve in componentDidMount when testing with Enzyme. I totally get it. Testing asynchronous code can feel like trying to catch smoke with your bare hands. Many developers face this challenge, especially when dealing with state updates in React components. Here's the specific situation we're looking at. One user asked, "How can I ensure that my async component has fully loaded before making assertions in my tests?" They found that their test was failing because the state was still set to false. Sound familiar? Let's explore this together. So what's happening here? When your component mounts, it starts an asynchronous operation that updates the state. However, your test is running the assertion before that operation completes, leading to the failure. Let's break down how to handle this correctly. And stick around. At the end of this video, I'll share a neat trick that will make your testing life a whole lot easier. To ensure that the async component has fully loaded before making assertions, the user should utilize the async and await keywords in their test case. This allows the test to wait for the promise to resolve. Next, the user should ensure that the test case is marked as asynchronous. This is done by adding the async keyword before the function definition. This allows the use of await within the test. Additionally, the user can use Enzyme's update method to force a re-render after the state has changed. This ensures that the component reflects the latest state before making assertions. Finally, the user should run the test to verify that it now passes. This approach eliminates the need for setTimeout and provides a cleaner solution. Fun fact, did you know that the first version of React was released in 2013? It has come a long way since then, making our lives as developers much easier. Now, let's look at the answers provided by other users. An alternative approach suggested by a user is to use setTimeout to wait for the setState to resolve. This method works because setTimeout is a macro task, ensuring it runs after all microtasks, like promises, are settled. The user also recommends checking if the component is empty before the timeout and not relying solely on state data, which can be fragile. Instead, uses empty renderer to confirm the component's loading state. To avoid callback hell with multiple setTimeout calls, the user suggests using await with setImmediate to flush the microtasks queue, or using the flush promises package for a cleaner solution. Let's take a look at another answer from another user. An alternative approach suggested by a user is to notify Jest about the promise using async and await. This allows you to wait for the promise to resolve before making your assertions. Let's take a look at an answer from another user. An alternative approach shared by another user involves using Jest's fake timers and setImmediate. They created a mock function to check if it was called after the component mounted. This method ensures that the asynchronous code has executed before making assertions. Now, let's see a response from a different user. An alternative approach suggests that breaking a promise chain is an anti-pattern. It's recommended to return a promise from functions that use promises to avoid race conditions. This applies to lifecycle methods like componentDidMount. By using async and await, you can ensure that your asynchronous Jest tests chain all promises correctly. In Enzyme, you can shallow render the component with lifecycle methods disabled and manually call componentDidMount. This allows you to await its completion before making assertions. Alternatively, you can spy on componentDidMount during full rendering and await the promise it returns. Here's that neat trick I promised. Always remember to use async and await in your tests when dealing with asynchronous code. It can save you from a lot of headaches. And there you have it. Your tests should now pass without any issues. Remember, testing asynchronous code doesn't have to be a nightmare. If you found this video helpful, please subscribe for more tips and tricks.